Okay, viewers, we're going to show you how curses work and how they are real, how they're created and how they're fulfilled. I want to start with Islam's blunt warnings about the tongue and speech, straight from the Quran and authentic hadith, because humans love wrecking their lives with just words alone. So I want to be fair. We'll start with Quran speech that gets you in trouble. Backbiting is treated like cannibalism. Do not backbite one another. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? So backbiting can lead to death, basically. Mocking. Defaming and nasty nicknames are banned. Do not ridicule, do not defame one another, nor call each other by offensive nicknames. And that's the reference there. Passing rumours from one tongue to another is condemned as serious. You passed it from one tongue to the other, saying what you had no knowledge of, while it is extremely serious in the sight of Allah. Quran 24:15. Another one, you're commanded to speak the best words, because Satan weaponizes talk, and he sure does. Tell my servants to say only what is best. Satan seeks to sow discord among them. Quran 17:53. Speak what is right, true, as part of taqwa, God's consciousness. Quran 33:70-71, be mindful of Allah and say what is right. Quran 33:70-71. The next one, every word is recorded. Not a word does a person utter without a vigilant observer ready. Quran 50:18. So we've got to be very careful what we say. Slander, backbiting, gets an explicit woe to you. Quran 104:1 says, woe to every backbiter and slanderer. The hadith, the tongue, as your fast track to hell. Number one, the classic rule, speak good or shut up. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak what is good or keep silent. Bukhari 6136 from the Sunni al-Bukhari. The next one, restraint this tongue, because it's what wrecks most people. Are people thrown onto their faces in hell for anything other than the harvest of their tongues? And that's from Sunni Ibn Majah, there, thread 3973. Some teaching appears in the Riyadh as-Sahihin too. Definition of backbiting versus slander. It's clean and brutal. Watch this. Backbiting equals saying something true about someone that they hate to hear. If it's false, that's slander. Sahari Muslim 2589. One careless sentence can drop you insanely far. A person may utter a word carelessly and fall into hell, farther than the distance between east and west. Sahari al-Bukhari 6478. And the same meaning also is in Sahari Muslim 2988a. If you want it boiled down to a working filter, before speaking, it is true, necessary, and likely to do good. If not, congratulations. You just found a reason to stay quiet. Now, here is in parallel with the Muslim wisdom, some Bible warnings about the tongue with references. Everybody knows this one. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And it also says, and those that, I forget the second part, Proverbs 18:2. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Oh, use the phone. So life and death are in the power of the tongue, Proverbs 18:21. And those that love it shall eat its fruit. That's what it says. Number 2, the tongue can destroy like a fire. James 3, verses 5 through 6. No human can tame the tongue. It's deadly poison. James 3:8. Watch your mouth to save your life. Proverbs 13:3. Guard your heart and lips. Proverbs 4:23 through 24. Speak truth, ditch lying lips. Proverbs 12:22. Harsh words stir up anger. Gentle words calm it. Proverbs 15:1. Don't gossip or slander. Proverbs 11:13. You'll answer for every careless word. That's what Jesus said in Matthew 12:36 through 37. And set a guard on your mouth. Psalm 141:3. And there's just some general examples. Now we're going to move into the Old Testament passages where there's a spoken curse, words, that the Bible itself shows gets fulfilled. So this is going to prove that curses are real. We better be very careful how we speak about people. So the first part will be the curse spoken with its reference, and the second part will be the curse fulfilled. So we'll turn to the Old Testament. Joshua curses any rebuilder of Jericho. The spoken curse, rebuild Jericho and lose firstborn at foundation, youngest at the gates. Joshua 6:26, which reads, at the time Joshua pronounced this solemn oath, cursed before the Lord, who is the one who undertakes to rebuild this city Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn son, he will lay its foundations. At the cost of his youngest, he will set up its gates. That was the curse. Now, here's the fulfillment. Hiel rebuilds Jericho, and Abiram dies at foundation. That must be his sons. And Segub at the gates. Let's read this passage. In his days, Hiel of Bethel built Jericho. He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram, his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son Segub, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke by Joshua, the son of Nun. A clearer foundation reads this. In his days, Hiel the Bethelite rebuilt Jericho. He laid its foundations with the loss of Abiram, his firstborn, and set up its gates with the loss of his youngest son, Segub, in accordance with the word of the Lord, which he spoke through Joshua, the son of Nun. So we see that Joshua warned that at the rebuilding of Jericho, the loss of the firstborn at the foundation and the youngest at the gates, in Joshua 6:26. The next one's Elijah's word. Dogs will lick Ahab's blood. And very savage curse, but let's see what happens. The spoken curse or judgment is in 1 Kings 21:19, and it reads, "Dogs will lick Ahab's blood where Nahath's was licked." And where Nahab's was licked up. And it was fulfilled when the dogs licked Ahab's blood when the chariot was washed. And I think we'll read the fulfillment. Where it says in 1 Kings 22 and verse 38, it says, "So the king died and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. They washed the chariot by the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood, and the prostitutes washed themselves in it, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken." So there's another fulfilled curse. Okay, you can also look up 2 Kings 9:30 through 37, especially 9:36 and 37. The next curse in the Old Testament is Jotham's curse and its mutual destruction of Abimelech and Shechem. The spoken curse is. The next curse is Joshua to Achan. "The Lord will trouble you today." The spoken judgment was in Joshua 7:25, where he says, "The Lord will bring disaster on you today." And all Israel stoned Achan and his family to death. The fulfillment on Achan and household in the narrative, they are executed that day in Joshua 7:25 through 7:26, which I have to say, when you look at this, I'm not sure what Achan did. Maybe we should look that up, but that's pretty vicious, isn't it? They killed Achan and all of his household. And, you know, it's easy to say Mohammad and that did stuff, but here we find in the Old Testament, the Israelis were into some nasty stuff as well, and probably you'd have to check out the reasons why. My job just at the moment is to show you the pronouncement of the curse and the fulfillment of the curse. The next one, Joshua curses the Gibeonites into permanent servanthood. The spoken curse is in Joshua 9:23, where he says, "Now therefore you are cursed, slaves, woodcutters, and water carriers." And this was fulfilled immediately in Joshua 9:23 through 27, where we might read that, 23 through 27. "Now therefore you are cursed, and none of you shall be free from being slaves, woodcutters, and water carriers for the house of my God." So they answered Joshua and said, "Because your servants were clearly told that the Lord your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land." Now what you've got to understand is, viewers, when you're looking at these Middle Eastern, what would you say, invasions or, annihilations, it was a Middle Eastern, it was part of the Middle Eastern culture because they wanted to wipe out any reproductive possibilities from those clans or tribes, right? And so, and I used to wonder about this, like you'd hear all the narrative on what the Arabs did throughout the Middle East, and they were malicious. But in the name of the Lord, the Old Testament Israelis, they caused a lot of damage as well, because he is saying that Moses gave them the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we were very much afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this thing. And now we are in your hands Do with us as it seems good and right to do to us. So he did to them and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, so that they did not kill them. And that day Joshua made them woodcutters and water carriers for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord in the place which he chose, even to this day. So there's a little bit of Middle Eastern culture there in the terms of what are they saying Israel was doing in Palestine, genocide. This is genocide on a tribal level, as it were, not in a civilization level, but in a tribal level. And it's common throughout the Old Testament. And I got a little bit confused with it all when I was studying the nature of genocide and how war can become illegitimate. But part of the course of war is to annihilate the problem. And it's an ancient, methodology. And it's cruel and it's harsh, but it stops the reoccurrence of the same issue. Now we're going to go to the next one, which is where Elijah calls down fire on the captains. And he calls fire down on the captains twice. So, the spoken word. If I am a man of God, this is Elijah, may fire come down and consume you. That was in 2 Kings 1, 9-12. And it was fulfilled immediately. Fire falls and consumes them. Now, is that a curse? Or is that a promise? I'm not sure. But one thing's for sure, what he said was fulfilled. I'm just bringing this into light, words and the fulfillment of the words in the negative. The next one's Elijah and Ahaz, he says, will surely die. So the spoken word is, the spoken judgment is you will certainly die in 2 Kings 1:4 and 1:16. And it was fulfilled and explicitly linked. So he died according to the word of the Lord that Elijah had spoken, and that's in 2 Kings 1:17. Because you have done this, you will never leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. And so he died. The word was spoken and it was fulfilled. And interestingly, it was fulfilled in the death of the man. Okay? And this is what we are leading up to. The next one, and I want to give you all these examples because you need to see that curses are real. Elijah curses the mockers. And then there's a bear attack. The spoken curse is called down. Elijah called down a curse. It says it in those words, in the name of the Lord. And we'll read this. From there Elijah went up to Bethel. This is 2 Kings 2:23-24. As he was walking along the road, some boys came out of the town and jeered at him. "Get out of here, Baldy," they said. "Get out of here, Baldy." He turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. Now that's pretty heavy, isn't it? But that's the power of a curse. It was fulfilled Immediately, 2 bears mauled 42 young boys. The next one, Elisha curses Gehazi with Naaman's leprosy. The spoken curse is, leprosy clings to you and your descendants forever. 2 Kings 5:27. And immediately Gehazi leaves leprous as white as snow. Very, very, well, you make up your own mind about that. But to me, that's the power of a curse. The next one is Elijah to the skeptical officer. You'll see it, but not eat it. The spoken judgment was, you will see it, but you will not eat of any of it. And he says, all right, so anyway, the fulfilled plus the narrator stamp, that is exactly what happened. And he was trampled and he died. So he saw what was going on, or what was going to be eaten. But he was trampled to death before he could actually eat it. And that's in 2 Kings 17 through 20. The next one is Moses' public curse test on Korah's rebellion, and the earth swallows them. Let's see. The spoken word. If the word opens and swallows them, you will know they despise the Lord. Okay? Numbers 16, 29 through 30. And it was fulfilled immediately in Numbers 16, 31 and 33, where the earth split and swallowed them right after Moses finished speaking. So that was pretty immediate as well. Now, we come up to the judgment on Eli's house. His 2 sons will die the same day. And it goes, the spoken sign, the judgment, both sons will die the same day, 1 Samuel 2:34. And this was for corrupting the priesthood back under the leadership of Saul, I'm pretty sure it was. And it was fulfilled in 1 Samuel 4:11, where Eli's 2 sons died. And they died the same day. So you had the spoken curse and the fulfillment. There's 2 left in the Old Testament. The next one's Nathan's judgment on David, calamity in his house, plus the child will die. And this was because of Bathsheba and his adultery with her. The spoken judgment, sword won't depart, calamity from within, and the child dies. 2 Samuel 12, 10 through 14. And then it was fulfilled in the same passage, for this child died in 2 Samuel 12, 18. The next one is, and there's just back a bit, there's an amazing part to that child dying, because David said prophetically with confidence that he will see that child again. And there was only one place he could see that. And that means people live after death. The last one is the man of God prophecy against Bethel altar, later fulfilled by Josiah. So the spoken judgment was altar condemned, future defilement, destruction foretold, 1 Kings 13:2. And it was fulfilled, plus explicitly noted, where Josiah demolishes, defiles it, in accordance with the word proclaimed by the man of God in 2 Kings 23:15 through 16. Now we have a couple from the New Testament, which I think is important. A lot of people don't realize that some of this happened in the New Testament, believe it or not. The first one's Peter to Ananias, and it was an immediate death. The spoken judgment was Peter confronts the lie, and Ananias drops dead on hearing it. Also, Sapphira, Peter's words, confronted her lie, and she died it immediately too. You'll find that in Acts, the early part of Acts chapter 5. Then we have Paul to Elymas, where Paul predicted he would be blind for a time. Now, the spoken judgment in Acts 13:11 says, "You are going to be blind." And the fulfillment was immediate in Acts 13:11, the same verse. "And immediately mist and darkness came over him. And he groped about, seeking someone to lead him by the hand, because he went blind." And the next one, which you may be familiar with, is Jesus cursing the fig tree. And the spoken word from Jesus was, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." That was in Mark 11:14. And it was fulfilled, because when they went near past the tree after that, the fig tree was withered away. So even in the New Testament, we see the power of cursed words. And here's the final one. It's from the Old Testament. It's Jezebel. I picked up ChatGTP 5.2 on this because it missed this one, and I asked it why, and it's come back with this. Jezebel, since you specifically called it out. She belongs in as number 3 of the Old Testament list, but she had a curse spoken against her, and it was that she would be eaten by dogs, and it was fulfilled with explicit callback. So there's the set of, as you would say, Judaistic Christian curses. But now we're going to turn to the Islamic or Muslim texts, and we're going to see what we've been trying to figure out. Now, this was a conditional divine curse on the messenger Mohammad if he forges revelation, if he tells lies in the name of Allah. Okay, and this is really important because this collapses the whole foundation of Islam. And it's not something that I'm trying to do. It's just something that smacked me in the face and shocked me, and I couldn't find any other way of interpreting it, given that I'd studied curses and seen the reality of them, not just biblically, but in life as well. You'll have a mother say to a son, "Oh, look, you're never going to be anything," just in the heat of the moment. And sometimes the son will brush that curse off and become relatively prosperous or make a life for themselves, but other people just never come out of it. They just never find their way out of the curse. There's a curse on the Lebanese side of my family which runs with lust and misfortune. Lust and misfortune and narcissism and disintegration of relationships and ruin on the Lebanese side of my primarily. And I've seen the reality of that. I revoked it and disowned it and managed to navigate my life so far, at least to a point where I can leave an inheritance for my children. But let's go on with this. This is a conditional divine curse on the messenger Muhammad if he forges or lies about Allah's revelation in the book. So the words spoken are Quran, and it says in Quran 69:44 through 46, if you want to look it up. If the messenger were to fabricate revelation, Allah says he would seize him and sever his aorta. I'm going to read that again because this is the point of it. The words spoken in the Quran, if the messenger were to fabricate revelation, make up revelation, forge revelation. Allah says he would seize him. What method that might be, we don't know. Well, we do know. You can decide for yourself. And sever his aorta. Okay? Seize him and sever his aorta. Quran 69:44 through 46. Now, Tafsir note on al-watin equals aorta, life, artery, is commonly stated in classical commentary. So, the fulfillment of this curse in the Quran, which Allah said, is reported, and it's a fulfillment claim in the hadith about Muhammad's death. In his final illness, the second part of the illness, where he battled this problem from being poisoned by a Jewish woman. And the funny part about this poisoning was Muhammad's friend ate a piece of this lamb shoulder and died in front of them all. But Muhammad's gluttony, it's the only way I could put it, Muhammad's gluttony caused him to ignore that, and he ate some of the meat as well, and it poisoned him. They even said they could smell the poison. Somebody said they could smell the poison in the meat and taste it. So they must have been pretty hungry to risk their lives eating it. But Muhammad is reported to have said he still felt the pain from the food at Khaybar. And he said, I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison. And that's in Sahih al-Bukhari 44:28. So this is profound, because to me that's a confession. I feel as though my aorta is being cut from that poison. That's a confession. That's a confession to Allah. Allah had come to mind in Muhammad's time of tragedy. He knew he was dying. It wasn't an open confession, but it was a confession as if to say, Allah, your word is being fulfilled. But the sad part about it was being fulfilled by an assassination of a Jewish woman on Mohammed. God rest his soul. So Muhammad's more or less said, I'm sorry about all the lies I've told and the things I've made up and the stuff I've plagiarized from the books of the people, or the people's writings of the books. I've plagiarized all that. And you can tell, if you parallel, you can see they've been taken and changed a bit just to fit in. You've got to remember, Muhammad was a rejected preacher. The Jews and the Christians just would not accept his theology. And that was the end of it for them with Muhammad. So Muhammad did fulfill the warning, but that was a curse that was a promise that he never should have fulfilled. Because if Muhammad was truly the prophet of Allah, he would never have lied. He would never have been poisoned, and he would never have made the confession to Allah that his prophecy was being fulfilled. I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison. That's a confession of the deceitfulness of his life. He'd come to conviction. Now, you may not agree with me, you might want to argue it, but I've just given you reference after reference showing how these curses are legitimately fulfilled. And Muhammad knew when he was dying that he told lies. And he's probably thought this is the fulfillment of Allah's curse on me for what I've done. That's not the sign of someone you can trust. So Muhammad, he did fulfill Allah's curse. The curse was in Quran 69:44 through 46. It was a warning, and it was fulfilled. And it was fulfilled via assassination. Bukhari 44:28, where the final words, or close to the final words of Muhammad, excuse me, God rest his soul, Muhammad, as if my aorta is being cut. And that was a death illness statement, a confession of conviction. Allah's curse has fallen upon me. That's basically what it is. God rest the soul of Prophet Muhammad. So I hope that helps. You can argue all you like, but you'll be arguing with Allah or the writings of the Quran. And at this point, viewers, I'll say goodbye. Bye for now, and I hope that helped you to understand how Muhammad fulfilled Allah's curse. I'll see you on the next one.